Welcome to Benny Jeeps, where we take our average Jeeps on extraordinary trails across America. Special thanks to our friends Andy and Holly for bringing out Eddie's Toyota and enjoying a great day on the trails with us. Lifelong friends and great trail riders.
Yeah, way to go, Andy. All right.
All right, we're at Carolina Crawlers in the North Georgia mountains, getting ready to take out Travis's Red Dwarf, and that's my monster Jeep. So we're parked here, and they had some little camping spots. It's kind of a side of the road type of deal for something as big as ours, but I'm sure if you had something smaller, they've got other spots for you. So we're excited to test it out. This is a pretty new off-road park.
Real new. Like he said, there's not even parking for trailers yet. They've still got to put in a gravel parking lot.
Yeah.
It's about 100 acres, he said.
Yeah.
Lots of trails.
Yeah.
And he said, what you see on the internet's all the extreme stuff.
Right.
There's stuff for everybody here.
Yes.
So we're hoping to see what's not scary for our average Jeeps.
We'll let you know. All right.
Carolina Crawlers Off-Road Adventure Park is located between Young Harris and Blairsville, Georgia. Blairsville, Georgia is a mid-sized town and has everything you need. Pharmacy, gas, fuel, parts, etc. Everything you need for a good adventure weekend. So one of the best things about this off-road park is Wally has Jeeps you can rent. If you've never been off-road, he has what we call them trail Jeeps. Slightly dented, well-used, well-loved, well-maintained, and best of all, Wally will take you out 4 hours, day or night, and show you how to use four-wheel drive and how to ride the trails. And if you happen to rub one against a tree or bounce it off a rock on accident, it's not too big a deal. These Jeeps are trail Jeeps, and they're made for you to learn how to drive four-wheel drive. So take advantage of that. This is a relatively new park, and Wally's still working on things there. One of the things he has now is an air compressor station at the front gate, so you can air back up after you air down. So we aired down, tidied up the Jeeps, and hit the trail with some new friends. You see the blue Toyota and the yellow TJ up ahead of us. Blue Toyota gentleman, he'd been here before, and we decided to follow them for a little bit just to get a feel for the park. We've quickly figured out that there's a lot of gentle hill climbs, but with a little bit of rain, it turns slick. It was a lot of fun. A little momentum gets you a long way, and we learned how to bounce our way along up the hills and down the hills, and there's some rocks to crawl along the way. It's a really good trail for a lot of Jeeps. My Wrangler has 32-inch tires on it, and I really think 32s is probably a minimum for some of the ruts. But if you can stay out of the ruts, pretty much any Jeep's going to have a good time wandering up and down these trails. When it's semi-dry like this, if it got to be really dry, I imagine this would be like driving up asphalt hills, which would be really fun. And if you get there after it really rains, it's probably going to be really slick, and you're going to need a lot of RPMs and wheel spin to move around the park. All different ways of driving it are fun. Just look at the weather before you go to see which way you want to go. So it's really tough in these videos to show the grade or slope of the trails and the trail conditions, but if you watch for telltales, like me going down this hill here, you'll see the Jeep take a hop on this downhill. Kind of shows you a little how steep it is. In other parts of the videos, you'll see tires spinning, packed with mud, leaves. All this stuff shows you tips on the trail condition. Just like Michelle coming over that same little rock. Or in this segment of video, when you see her steering against the slope and the tires slip a little bit. Just letting you know there's a slope there, and it's slippery and greasy trail. This is kind of what you can expect when you come out here on what I thought was an average day. Be ready for it. You know, like I mentioned before, keep your sea legs under you. Know that you're going to be sliding a little bit off camber. It's okay. Just don't panic and don't steer against it too hard because you'll wind up sliding into a tree.
All right, keep on going. Good job.
There are a few named obstacles in the park, and the first one we came up on was a big rock slab called Axe Head. Andy went ahead and tried it first in the buggy and wound up getting the rear differential hung up on a rock. Since it's a borrowed rig and we weren't going to try too crazy, we went ahead and winched it the rest of the way up and decided that I would give it a shot next. So the left side seemed like the only possible line for me, with just 32s and a rear locker, and I kept bouncing to the right, and which raises another question: is trail etiquette. How many times do you try an obstacle before you give up and let somebody else go? I know it varies for situations. I tried a half dozen times and decided, you know what, there's just not going to be my day on this obstacle, and let's go on to the next one before we break something.
No one when enough's enough.
This is a pretty good descent, and Michelle traditionally does not like descents. So just come straight down. Don't try to countersteer anything.
Occasionally in our videos you'll hear us talking back and forth from a distance. Little two-way radios. We bought some off Amazon. I'll try to find the link and put it in the description. Great to have for spotting, for words of encouragement, for allaying fears of whatever problems I have. Michelle can usually help me out with. Here's another obstacle called Carnage Hill. Did not attempt, and we continued on down other trails in the park. So remember how we said the park was only about 100 acres? It packs a lot of trails in 100 acres. There are no maps. It's kind of a spider web of trails. You're not really going to get lost, and generally easy to find your way back out again, too. Basically, all the trails go downhill, and eventually you come to the front gate. So remember talking about trail etiquette before? Well, here I come again, hogging the obstacle for a little bit. Now, small group, among friends, and I know everything's okay behind me, we can play around for a little bit without being a trail hog. And we also don't want to break anything, so eventually I'll give up. But in the meantime, enjoy a Jeep on 32s trying to go where it shouldn't go. And while we're watching me flail around in this, let's talk about Andy's coming up next in the video. He puts on a really good demonstration of heating up the tires and drying out the rocks in his tires so he can make a climb. Now there's some guys that will get on a rock and just smoke them for the fun of it and bounce it off the rev limiter, and are they doing it to show off? Are they doing it because it is honestly helping the situation? There's a line between that. and I think Andy nails it in this next segment of video. So he's going to be here in a second, and watch how he heats up the tires, gets the rocks a little warm, gets the clay out of them, and is able to pull up the obstacle. Just, I'd call it textbook, the way he does it. All in all, we had a great time at the park. Wally's doing a great job of making new trails all the time. He's got the rental Jeeps so that if you're absolutely new to it, go rent a Jeep. Oh, here's a picture of my bumper after I dove into a mud hole without checking the depth. Trail common sense, right? Make sure you know how deep it is before you nose off into it. Other than that, we had a great time. Looking forward to going back and seeing what improvements he's made. And I want to encourage everybody, if you're in North Georgia, go out and hit the trails at Carolina Crawlers. Rent the Jeep if you need to rent a Jeep, and learn how to drive off-road. And we'll see you out there on the trails next time.
Yeah, that's a new smoke.